Ray, and this is Gardening in the North. And today is part 2 of our chicken coop and run build. So last fall when I uploaded part 1, we were hoping that we were going to be able to progress this project a little bit further before the spring hit us. However, keeping with our Canadian weather, it just wouldn't cooperate with us. We either had below zero temps or we had freezing rain. There was absolutely no opportunity for us to get out here. But as you can see from behind me, we have made significant progress on this project. So I have been taking some clips along the way of my husband and my son working on this project. And so I'm going to show that to you so that you can see some of the progress and the different steps as we went along. We're going to be working today on getting up the rest of the hardware cloth. We're putting on some trim onto the chicken coop. We're building the ramp that goes from the run into the coop. And so we've got a lot of things that we're going to get done today. And when we're done, I'm going to walk around and do a tour and show you everything. Days since the last part of this video that I did, and it has done nothing but rain. So we had to put the project on hold again because of our Canadian weather. But I think we have it to a point now where I want to show you what we've done. We've added the door. So I'm just going to show you quickly inside. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the actual coop. I know that some of it might be a bit of a repeat from part 1, but for those of you that are new and haven't seen part 1, it's new to you. So welcome to my coop. So one of the things I want to talk about that we've done is we added linoleum to the floor. So a couple reasons we did this. One, we wanted to make sure that it was easy to clean out. It'll just pull out fairly easy. And 2, we wanted to protect the actual plywood that's on the bottom of our coop. We want to make sure that it lasts longer and doesn't rot out from all the business that the chickens will be doing. The other thing I wanted to point out is our roosts. So we have 3 roosts in here, and we've put them all at the same level. Now, I know that there is a pecking order when it comes to chickens, and there is the cool group, the mean girls, who want to be higher than the rest of them. But our feeling is that while you're in this coop, you're all equal. You're all going to roost on a roost that is equal to your friends. Now, I know there are some people out there with some mixed opinions on that, you know, that's what chickens do. There is a pecking order, and I get that. But we're going to try this, and we can always change it if we find that they don't like it. So what we did is we made 2 of the roofs out of 2x3s, and one of them is a 2x4. So the other thing that I want to point out is that right now our nesting boxes are wide open. However, there is a couple more things that I want to do to them. But we're on a current 6 weeks lockdown in the province that I live in. And there are just some things, some materials that you need that you can't get even curbside. So the rest of that nesting box project is going to be on hold. Once I finish it, we will block that off prior to putting our chickens in here because they're not going to need them for a few months. So let's take a look at the nesting boxes. So One thing I want to point out is this heavy duty lock here. I mentioned earlier that we're on a lockdown, and what that means is that everything that we buy from the hardware stores right now is done online. You drive to your hardware store when they tell you that your items are ready to be picked up, and they just load it into your trunk for you. So I bought 2 of these hinges, and I just want to show you how heavy duty it is. And that's the problem with buying something online. You can't actually touch and feel it to know if it's going to be overkill. So it is a bit overkill. I bought 2 of these. We only need 1. And I just want to show you inside what our coop or what the nesting boxes look like. Now we will put another latch up here so that when we come out here and we open up this nesting box, we can actually clip it onto another latch there and put our hook through, so we're not holding it open. It'll be really easy. We can do it with one hand. Now, we only put 1 latch on here, and we feel that this is going to be predator proof because we have 3 hinges on this nesting box lid. And in order for any predator to come along and actually lift this lid with only 1 latch, what they're potentially going to have to do is break the lid off from the end, one of the end hinges, and that's just not going to happen. But let's say it did, and they were able to get that hinge off of this lid because they're starving and they want our chickens. They're then going to have to lift this lid higher than the inch that we have there before they can actually get in. So we feel that this lid to our nesting boxes is fairly predator proof and nobody's getting in. So I want to take a minute to talk about how high up our actual coop is. So we've raised it up about 18 inches, and we did that for 2 reasons. One, we wanted to make sure that the chickens had extra room underneath the coop if they wanted some shady area. And you already have the coop here. You're already using, space for the coop. So why not raise it up to give them that added extra space? The other thing, or the other reason that we did that, is so that I can pull my wagon up to the actual coop door here, and I can sweep everything out into my wagon and off I go to my compost area. So we really wanted to make it accessible for me, my husband, the kids, whoever's helping us to clean this out, so that you're not bending down and trying to scoop everything out. We're just gonna pull it all out. The other thing that I want to point out since we're here is all of the hardware cloth that we have around our coop. Now, we made the decision to use 1/4-inch hardware cloth instead of chicken wire. We felt that chicken wire was not predator proof. Hardware cloth, or the 1/4-inch hardware cloth, is stronger than chicken wire. And I don't know if you've seen any videos, but raccoons have really long skinny arms with their little hands, and I've seen videos where they've stuck their arms through the chicken wire and the chicken thinks that that's their friend, runs over to it, and that raccoon grabs the neck of the chicken and it's done. So we wanted to make sure that that didn't happen to our girls. We want to make sure that when we move our girls out here, they're going to be safe. So we've added the hardware cloth all around the coop. One thing I want to point out is that adding hardware cloth to anything is super hard. And when you want the hardware cloth to go one way, it wants to bend the other way. So one of the things that we did initially when putting up all the hardware cloth is we used staples, or I shouldn't say we, my husband used staples in order to put it all up quick and efficiently. And then I went around afterwards and added screws and washers just to make it predator proof. So if you take a look here, you'll see that I've gone around and added the washers with the screws so that it is on there really tight. Nothing is going to be able to pull that off of there. Now I'll just bring you around to the run, and I'll show you that I've done the same thing over here. The only difference over here is that I didn't put as many screws and washers. And the reason for that is we're going to be framing this side out. You know, our chicken coop and run is in our front yard. And when people drive down our driveway, they see our chicken coop and run. And so part of having it here in our front yard is making it appealing and making it, you know, eye-catching in a nice way. So we're going to take, and again, not we, my husband is going to take a couple 2x4s we already have, and he's going to make 1x2s out of them, and he's going to frame this whole side in to make sure it's predator proof. Now, if you look at the ground here, you'll see that we've actually taken the hardware cloth out onto the grass area. Now, the grass area is pretty stompled down right now because we've been working here and it's been raining, but the idea is that the grass eventually will grow through there. So I'm going to come around and I'm going to throw some soil mixed with grass seed and some clover seed just to make sure that everything grows nicely there, so that when my sons are cutting the grass, they can just ride the lawnmower right next to the coop and run and cut everything, and you won't even know that this hardware cloth is there. So one of the things that I wanted to show you was how I actually tacked down the hardware cloth. So I use these 8-inch, I think they're landscaping fabric spikes is what they're called. And so I'll just show you this. I got these at Home Depot. And I think for a bag of 8 of them, they were about $5. So these came in really handy. Otherwise, all of this fabric here, all of the hardware cloth, I mean, would be rolling up and we'd be tripping on it. So the idea of actually having the hardware cloth come out this far is that when a predator comes along and sees our chickens and thinks that that would make a tasty dinner, they're going to start digging, most likely as close as they can get to the actual place. And they're going to hit hardware cloth. And so they'll probably go left or right and hit hardware cloth again. So our thought process is they're not going to back up and keep digging, back up and keep digging in the hopes that eventually there's no hardware cloth there. We think that they will probably leave because they can't get in. I also wanted to point out our windows. So we have added hardware cloth to the actual screen part of the window and then framed it in. So then that way we can still clean the top portion. But when we open up the windows from the inside of the coop, predators aren't going to be able to push those screens in to get at our girls. So let's take a look at our door. I wanted to point out that this almost got forgotten. So my husband put the hardware cloth on the inside of the door, and of course when I'm going around and adding all of the screws and washers, I almost forgot about the door. And because when it's closed, it looks like it's framed in already. Looks pretty finished. But I'm pointing it out to you so that you don't forget about this. You want to make sure that you're also putting your screws and washers on the inside so that nothing can push this hardware cloth through into the run so that the predators can then get the chickens. So let's take a look inside. So what we've done is we have added 6 inches of wood all the way around the run. That way we can do the deep litter method in here in the run. So right now we've just added, I think it's about 5 inches of wood chips. And we have the ability to add in another 6 to 7 inches of wood chips. So what we're going to do is in 6 weeks, when the chickens are allowed to come out here and use the run, they will run around, do their business, and start composting up this area for us. And little by little, I will come in with buckets of more wood chips and kitchen scraps and basically just dump it in a pile and let the chickens sort it out, scratch through it and sort it all out on their own. And once a year, I will come into this run and actually clear out all of the compost that the chickens have made. It's going to be amazing in my garden. So this is the ramp that leads up into the chicken coop. This here is the chicken guard, the automatic door opener. And I'm not going to say too much about it because I will put out a single video that really talks about how to use it, what our experiences are with it. But I really want to wait until we've used it a little bit more and figured out if there's any tips and tricks that I can share with you. One thing that I can tell you about this particular automatic door opener is that the reviews on it were amazing. So a lot of the times when you have an automatic door opener, you set the timer to open at 6 a.m. and close at 9 p.m. But the problem with that is the chickens kind of will go in and out of their coop according to when the sun is out or when the sun is going down. And so throughout the different seasons, those timings are different. And so the great thing about this particular model is that it actually will adjust to the light that's coming through. So it's one of the reasons why we decided to purchase this one above all others. Now, I will tell you that this particular automatic door opener is not cheap. And we kind of made the decision that this would be more of an investment. It's pretty cool.
So that plunger that lifted up,
chickies.
that plunger that lifted up is undoing the locks. Did you notice that?
Yes.
When it goes down to the bottom, you'll see the locks engage in those two holes down by the ramp. Just hit it down to close.
It's smooth. It's really smooth.
Watch down at the bottom, those two holes there.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, you'll see the lock engage once that plunger closed all the way down.
Yep.
So you can't lift it up now.
No. So having a automatic door opener for our family is a necessity. It's something that we knew from day one that we were going to have. Reason being is that we're so busy. Both my husband and I work outside of the home during non-COVID times, and what that means is that we're usually gone by 6:30 a.m. and sometimes we don't get home until 4. So for us, having to come out here every morning to open up this door to let the chickens out into the run, I know that doesn't seem like a big task, but it's something that we don't have to think about. As well as if we want to go away for a night or a weekend, we don't have to get a babysitter to stop by here every 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to open up the door and then to come back and close it for us. This will take care of it. So essentially, once we put the food into the run and they have their water source, we could go away for a weekend or 4 days and not have to worry about our girls in here. There's one more thing that I want to talk about before I let you guys go, and that is ventilation. You have to have ventilation in your coop. Now, some people believe that if you have windows, that's your ventilation. And yeah, technically it is, because during different seasons, you can open up the window to let the air in, as well as to let any of the fumes from the chickens roosting and doing their business at night out. However, in the winter time, having the windows open and having that air come right in onto your chickens is not ideal, and it's not something that you want. So you want to add ventilation to your coop. Now, we are struggling a little bit with adding the ventilation to our coop, and I wanted to share that with you in case you have a similar issue. So right up here would be the perfect area to put our ventilation. And the reason that I say that is because, well, let's take a look from the front side of the coop again so that I can show you clearer. So So if you look at the top of our coop here, there's actually a 2x4 there. So putting the vent there across the top evenly is not going to be something that we can do. It's the same here. It would be perfect if we could put it there. So when you add ventilation to your coop, you want to make sure that it's as high in the coop as it can go so that it is way above your chickens. And so if you look at our roosts again and you look at where I want to put the ventilation, none of those, so the roosts are not even close to where the ventilation is. That way, when the air flows through this side, through the coop and out the other side, the girls aren't going to get a draft in the wintertime. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to add some holes along the top portion here, and we're going to frame it out in hardware cloth. But again, we're on a lockdown and we don't have any more hardware cloth left. So I have ordered some, but times are hard, and anytime you order something online at the hardware stores, it's taking over a week to get it. So we just haven't added that in yet, but that is coming. So I hope you've enjoyed our Coop and Run tour, and I hope that something that we've done here maybe sparks a thought for you and you want to add it to your coop. Thanks for spending time with me.